Hey guys, Chris Ross here with 8 Digit Media. So what I'm going to show you today is how you can take your boring and generic ad copy and turn it into some niche ad copy that is able to produce leads that have at least $500,000 or more in investable assets, and be able to do this on a consistent basis so that you can generate more revenue and more clients for your practice. Let's get into it. One, financial advisors are not really copywriters, right? So let's just get that off our chest right now. Most financial advisors are great at being a financial advisor and not being great at a marketer, or especially writing copy. Copy is a very difficult thing to do, but obviously with AI, writing copy can become a lot less of a headache, and with a proper structure or format in place, you can actually create some pretty good ad copy, but you got to have some basics down in order to make this effective. So really what we want to kind of take a look at is generic ad copy versus more niche ad copy. And the reason why I bring up niche ad copy is because sometimes people are afraid to ask for what they really want. It's not uncommon for me to get on a sales call with an advisor and I ask them to tell me about the type of client that they're looking for, and they say, I'm looking for a client that has $1 million plus, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes being able to say that out loud, and I say out loud in air quotes, meaning being able to put that in ad copy or put that in some kind of message that's going to resonate with people, that's actually going to draw in the folks that have $1 million or more, is something that a lot of people either just don't know how to do or they're scared to do it. But in this video today, I'm going to talk about a test that we ran where we use some specific ad copy, calling out the exact type of person that we wanted to sign up for the webinar, versus using some more generic ad copy. And we're going to see which one is going to be the winner, and the answer may actually surprise you. So let's get into it. This is the ad copy that I wanted to go over with you all. Now, I'm not sharing all of the ad copy, mainly because I don't want anybody to steal it. This is ad copy that we are actually still using for a client, and we've honestly been using this ad copy for the past 5 years. This just goes to show that if you have effective ad copy, one, you don't need to always be changing out your ad copy with every single campaign. That's a very big misconception that a lot of people have, and a lot of clients ask us. They're like, hey Chris, why are you still using the same ad copy? And my response is, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is it still producing leads? Is it still producing the quality leads that you're looking for? If it is, that's just a testament of some very good ad copy, and there really isn't a need to change it if there's nothing wrong with it. So let's take a look at a couple of highlights here for this ad copy. Now, what I have titled here, right, Webinar A, this is the generic ad copy that I was referring to that we wrote for this particular client. Now you'll see the average cost per lead with this ad copy was $18.06, which is good for the webinar it is that they are doing. Now, what I have put together here is the opening hook for this ad copy. So this is the very first line that people read in the ad copy when the ad actually comes down the feed on Facebook or Instagram. So it says, if that six-figure salary you've been making for years feels like it disappears without any real increase to your net worth, you could be a Henry. Now, for those who don't know, a Henry is someone that is commonly called high earner, not rich yet. So that's what the acronym Henry stands for. So these are people who tend to make a high salary, but they're not rich yet, right? Or maybe they don't consider themselves rich. Now, what I did here was I was able to use our lead verification system in order to measure the quality of these leads. And I wanted to have something objectionable that I can show to you all and not have something that's more of an anecdote. So I took all of the leads that were generated from this particular campaign, and this was the breakdown on assets for the leads that were generated. So 17% of the leads that generated had between $0 to $99,000 in investable assets, right? We're just going to call these people non-qualified here. Next level up, people who had between $100,000 and $250,000 in investable assets, that accounted for 14.5% of the leads. Next big jump here, right, is going to be people who had $250,000 to $500,000. Now, this made up 40% of the audience, which is pretty good, right? $500,000 to $1 million, that made up 16%. $1 million to 3.5, that was 8.2, and then people who had $3.5 million, 3.1% of this audience. Now, overall, over half of the leads that we have here would be what most financial advisors would call qualified. And when I say that, I mean people who have at least $250,000 or more. If we're just looking at people who have $500,000 or more, that is still a pretty big percentage of this overall audience that was generated using the ad copy that we created for them. Now, these are some good numbers. Again, we've been using this particular ad copy for them for quite some time, but we wanted to test out some different ad copy and see if we were more specific about the type of individual that we wanted to attract would we be able to actually improve the quality of the leads and keep costs the same and or drive down the cost of the leads as well? And this is where things got really interesting here for us. So I'm going to share webinar B here. Now, this is same client, but we wrote the ad copy in a different manner. You'll see here with webinar B, the average cost per lead on this was $13.33. So we're almost $5 less per lead with the niche ad copy versus the generic ad copy. Now, the hook for this ad copy is for families earning $300,000 or more annually. There's a better way to approach financial planning, and it's so much simpler than you may think. And the reason why I think this opening hook worked really well, one, we're very specific about who it is that we're looking for. So we're saying families. So this automatically alludes to the fact that this is going to be more than one person. We're also calling out the idea that, between the two individuals or however many individuals, right, in the family, that they're earning $300,000 or more. And then we're also talking about how they have an approach, or the approach to financial planning can be a lot more simple than what they may think it is. And most people who are earning a high income, they most likely think that financial planning is going to be really this big difficult thing. There's a lot to consider, and there is a lot to consider, but with the right financial advisor, right, their whole job is to make everything simple for their clients, and that's the reason why people want to reach out and work with a particular financial advisor. So let's look at the numbers on the lead quality using this particular ad copy. The first big thing I want to point out here is people who had between $0 and $99,000, right, saved for investable assets, we were able to reduce that number down to 7.1%. So if you recall earlier, I believe we were about 14% with the generic ad copy. With the specific ad copy, we were actually able to reduce the number of people who were signing up who had less money. That's the very first thing that we want to take a look at. When we go and we take a look at the breakdown for 100 to 250,000, now we're up to 21.2% of the leads that were generated had between 100 and 250,000, whereas before we were at 14.5%. So this is basically a 7% jump in leads that have between 100 and 250,000. Now, you may be on here and you're saying, okay, somebody has 100 to 250,000. While that's great, that's still not super awesome and maybe not who my ideal clients may be. Well, let's take a look at people who have 250 to $500,000. Now, what we'll see here with the generic ad copy, about 40% of the leads that opted in had between $250,000 and $500,000. With our specific ad copy, we actually saw a little bit of a drop here, right? Not very much of a drop, a little over about 1%. So not a real big change there, but we did see a significant change in the people who have between $500,000 and $1 million saved for retirement. So with the niche ad copy here, we're up to 21.2%, whereas with the generic ad copy, we were at 16.4%. Nice big increase on people who have between $500,000 and $1 million in investable assets. Now, the other brackets are pretty much about the same. People who had between $1 million and 3.5 came in at 8.2, and those who had 3.5 or more had 3.1. We were pretty much about the same in those two brackets with the specific ad copy here. But again, the big highlight here to me is two things. One, we were able to increase the overall quality of the leads as a whole with more niche ad copy. And then two, we were able to reduce the cost in order to actually generate a lead here. So if you combine those two things, now you can spend, more money on your campaigns because you're going to be generating those leads at a much lower cost, but also increasing the quality of those leads at the same time. And this is really what I believe is the power to being specific and really calling out the type of avatar or the person it is that you want to have sign up for your webinars or your seminars. Now that I've shared with you some use cases for why you would actually want to use some niche ad copy, I'm going to share a little bit about the advisor that we did this for and some of the feedback that we got from him as a result of running this particular campaign for them. At the end of this particular webinar, they were able to book a good number of calls as a result of the people who signed up for this particular webinar. And lo and behold, and this is no surprise here, the people people who booked those calls were more qualified than the people who had been signing up for the webinar using the generic ad copy. So a few things that they noticed with this is, one, people were more motivated, and it's likely because they are a part of a family. So they either have a partner or a wife, a spouse, or whatever the case may be, or children that they're looking out for. So they're going to have, kind of more skin in the game. So they were more motivated. They obviously had more income and more assets, which means that these people are more qualified in order to become a client for them because they sell a financial plan, they're gathering AUM. So all of these things point to a way to increase their client base, also increase their revenue, and overall, right, it's just going to be a much better lead for them because they are going to convert at a much higher conversion rate than people who were coming from the generic ad copy. Now, I'll let you in on a little bit secret here. The ad copy that we actually put together for them, I was actually able to write this using AI 100%. And if you want to know how I was able to do that and how you can possibly be able to do this yourself, if you leave a comment below in this video, and if I get at least 5 comments, I will do the next video on how you can use AI in order to write some niche and compelling ad copy that will hopefully produce similar results for yourself. So that's all I have for you today. I'll see you in the next one.